Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coin Poker's Cash Game World Championship in partnership with Poker Strategy. Hope you guys are well. We're back. This is actually technically the third stream today, by the way, because I streamed last night, like past midnight. Then again today in the afternoon with Waco, and then now the third one. Kind of sick, to be honest. But we're joined by Mr. Riske himself. How's it going, sir?
It's going all right. Been following along behind the scenes, so first time, doing some commentary this time around.
Yeah, it's good to have you.
There's been a lot of fireworks already in the past week or so.
Any thoughts to hopping in there and playing a little bit in this pool?
No, I don't play much above 5K. Like in my life, I'm pretty conservative with that type of stuff. So I don't think this would be the lineup where I'd be deciding to shot take in.
Yeah. It's pretty strong players.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Well, basically all the best players are in this, especially I think you were saying it's an even bigger turnout thus far this year than it was last year.
Yeah, it was 43 total, I believe, entrants. And then now it's like 58, or maybe even more if some more people that I haven't seen yet started entering. Just gonna check out this hand here that's unfolding, and then we can go over the leaderboards together. This looks interesting, and it's at the show table. Oh, a set of fives. Okay. All right, so leaderboards. We've got Davy Jones in a big leads, then Kevin Paquet in second place, lolvoidaments. Do you know a lot of these guys and anything that stands out here?
I think everyone knows Davy. I feel like I used to play 500 Zoom. It's been a while now, and I feel like at that point, I played a bit against Davy, but that's probably the only time I've ever played against him. And I just know, everyone basically considers him, top 3 minimum, if not top 1. And then similarly, I think Kevin Pack, same idea. He was actually playing 500 Zoom when he first started his come up when I was playing, so I played a little bit, but that's the only experience. I just know they're both really good. I've played a little bit with lolvoidaments on ACR, and then probably the rest of the people, same idea. Not a ton of hands because I'm not hopping in the 5K, 10K games. It's more so 2K and under that are the main games I play.
Yeah.
So yeah, but definitely anyone you see on this leaderboard. I've played a fair amount with Exploitable because he plays, he'll play more of the 1K and the 2K games and stuff. So, but yeah.
Dunkaroos, have you played with?
Obviously. Not a ton. I believe he's Meek Bill on ACR, right?
Yeah.
I feel like definitely not a large sample. We've probably been at the same table a few times, but yeah, I don't have a huge sample on him.
Okay. And then we have a lot of notables. Kahan's in there. Flushy, Joe Adams. Started pretty hot, but definitely not been doing as well. Oh, hi Mark, of course, returning for at least a few hands. And I feel like I need to ask you about the bottom of the leaderboard because that's always a topic. Linus somehow dead last. Matt Marinelli again finding some struggles here in this Cash Game World Championship. So what are your thoughts on these?
Yeah, I mean, it's 15,000 hands. This is in a lineup where you're literally playing against the best players in the world, so there's going to be just a ton of variance. I've had a session I posted where I was playing in good games and I lost 35 buy-ins and 5,000 hands. So to lose less than 20 big blinds and 15,000 hands in a game with this caliber of competition, it's going to happen to someone, even if it is that's the beauty about poker, is even the best players in the world can lose over what feel like large samples to most, but for a professional, this is a very very small sample, 15,000 hands. So
yeah,
there's just going to be a lot of swings, especially at the start, and respect to these guys for willing to just battle it out and embrace those swings.
It's kind of wild, these amounts. And Lama was under the impression that Linus was going to keep on playing here. Personally, I don't think I've seen him back in the pool. I don't know when was the last time, maybe earlier today, but it does seem because I keep hearing that usually he plays higher. So
yeah.
Do you think
this would be the bottom? of his typical buy-in range.
Yeah, but do you think he's leaning more towards returning? Like, if you were in his shoes, like usually he plays bigger. Like, does he have incentive to still keep trying, or then would it be a thing where it's like, okay, I gotta try to at least break even?
I don't know if like the money matter again. Like at this point, he's so established. Like he already knows. Everyone already recognizes him as like the one of the best players to like ever play 6 max cash online.
Yeah.
So for him, it's just like whether he's still enjoying the battle because the money is probably relatively. It's funny to say, but 200,000 is probably relatively insignificant to him. But so it's whether or not he's just enjoying himself and wants to keep battling it out, right? Like I don't if he's having fun, and wants to go for the Rolex more for like a prestige thing. It's kind of like this is the cash game players kind of online series for MTT's equivalent. So if they want to just get in here, battle it out, and try and have an epic comeback, kind of like the Galfon comeback back in his heads up challenge versus Venavidi, where he came back from a massive downswing at the start. It'd be fun if he could climb out of this 20 buy-in thing. But the other thing is we've seen a few of the guys at the top. They've had like 10 buy-in days or whatever, so it wouldn't be that crazy for him to have a couple big days and be right back in it.
I think there's been a 15 buy-in swing, almost definitely, from either Kevin or Davy, or maybe even both. Yeah, they've had some huge swings. All right, thank you. HDP in the chat, you always have some very interesting and long questions. So he asked, was having a debate with a friend. He basically said baseline theory is not applicable till no limit 25, as generally pull tends to be call happy and also do not follow preflop theory. Of course, knowing baseline helps, but there is a massive deviation and also assumption breakdown as pull tends to not follow solver assumptions. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's a solver outputs results for two perfectly played strategies given two sets of ranges, right? I mean, if you're using your standard like one or two player solver like GTO Wizard, it's just going to take the two ranges. You're going to be 100% clairvoyant of what the other player's strategy is, and then you're going to play the perfect strategy to not be exploited, right? It's basically like every adjustment you make, your opponent makes the perfect counter strategy. So based on position, relative position, and whether you're in or out of position, stack sizes, etc., you're going to play the perfect unexploitable strategy within those parameters. And obviously, if you're playing lower stakes where the ranges don't exist, or don't look anywhere like what you're seeing in the sim, the responses to bets don't seem anywhere similar to sim. That's why, like, you've had a lot of guests on that I've listened to some of the commentary and stuff, and it's like most cash game regulars will talk similarly. It's like it's not about memorizing a sim out, but it's about understanding how here's a baseline. If I make assumptions on how these baseline strategies change, whether that be pre-flop ranges changing, bet sizes changing, splits in their bet, how do all these things affect your response and the optimal counter strategy, those type of things. So it's always going to be important to understand baseline strategy. But then, if you're playing against a player who is playing half the deck, then obviously there's going to be a more important strategy than trying to mimic GTO against that player.
Do you feel it becomes easier with experience and studying to kind of figure out, what beats what eventually? Because initially for me, like I was for sure very slow understanding, like, what counters what in poker, whereas like in video games, it came much more naturally, like you have a unit that counters like a certain type of armor or whatever. It's pretty straightforward, and then you just do that. But in poker, it's like people were making plays, and I was like, I have no idea how I'm actually meant to play against this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any game of strategy. The more simple the parameters, the easier it will be to know the like perfect counter strategy. Like if you're playing rock paper scissors and your opponent only plays rock, well, it's pretty easy to implement the perfect counter strategy, right?
Yeah.
And so then as the game becomes more complex, then you're gonna have more and more. But basically, what you always want to do is like if you're ever a newer player, you're trying to like improve. What'd you see?
You're about to see. Wait, what?
That's pretty sick. What was the action in that hand?
So that's UTG open by Beppe, 3 bets. Well, UTG is really hijack, I guess. Llama 3 bets the big blind. And we are 153 big blinds deep.
Okay.
9-9 deuce. He bets 1K into 2600. Call. 4 of clubs. Llama checks. Beppe checks back. Jack on the river. Llama bets big. And Beppe is like, all right, all you can eat.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to use this hand because you basically, what he blocks is he blocks ace jack of diamonds. And then obviously pocket fours, but pocket fours isn't going to be a big part of Llama's preflop strategy. And then the other thing is he doesn't actually block any 9x from Llama. So it's a weird spot because he's also just not really going to get to the turn. On this turn, he can't have a pair on board that blocks a 9x on the like obviously on the river he could have some jack x that he turns into a bluff, and that might be what the solver does at a frequency here. So this is, I would assume this is relatively pure exploit, and there's some, this is why these guys are so good, is they have some things that, maybe aren't in your standard solver output that he thinks this is a good play to, turn this type of hand into a bluff for whatever reason.
Yeah. I thought it was, that was not the hand I expected. That's the beauty of the show table as well. Like we got to see that at least. And I mean, there's a chance he just had the better hand anyway. It's funny enough, right? Like Llama might have just had pure air. He folded pretty quick.
Llama would, if Llama had, a hand that loses to like ace queen on this river, he would probably bluff pretty often because the jack is going to be pretty good for his bet check bet region.
Yeah.
Beppe's not really going to hit the jack very often unless he's, kind of checked back the turn with jacks and made a boat, or has like some ace jack of clubs type hand, ace jack of diamonds kind of hand. So yeah, definitely an interesting one. I mean, they're also deeper, so it allows you to make more of these plays because it's more difficult for out of position to just side call off pairs in that spot.
Oh my god. All right. That was sick. HDP in the chat wrote, it's kind of cool to ask fundamental questions and be answered by professionals. Thank you for amazing inputs. Well, thank Ryan.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks. I mean, Johan does a good job of making my job easy. You just prod me and I can just I don't have to think about the content, right? You just ask me and I can just respond.
Come on, a trained monkey could do my job. And Master Blaster asked, hey Ryan, if I can beat 100 no limit on the apps, could I join your CFP?
I would just think like anyone listening, if you're typically our baseline student needs to be beating at least 100 now.
Yeah.
So we treat each case on a case by case basis, but if you're interested in the program, head over to the website, just PokerWithRiske.com. Application's pretty simple. Take the 5 to 10 minutes to apply, and then we can go from there.
And we got Mr. Smeeble in the chat. What's up, Mr. Smeebs? Hope you're well. Seems like the action, by the way, increased a little. A couple of players joined now.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. So, if as a spectator, do you prefer 3 players, 4 players? Like, what is your? If you could watch 2 tables, do you like the full 6-handed? Do you like the short-handed? Do you have a preference?
I like it because that's what I played the most. Like, I mean, I can understand, like, you're gonna have more action if it's 3-handed, right? They're like playing a lot more hands. Yeah. But I've only, like, when I play live, I only play full ring. I guess now technically in some places in Vegas it's like 8-handed, but it's and online I only ever play mostly fast tables, which are always full. So because that's what I know, I guess I'd prefer if there's 6. But yeah, I don't mind either way.
It's funny because when I first moved up to like 500, I was playing on Ignition for a while. It was 500 fast hold, but because of the hours I played, the pool was always pretty small, so it was a lot of 3-handed. So I spent like a year or two where like probably over half my volume was three-handed heads up, maybe four-handed, in that 2 to 4-handed basically. So I had a lot more experience playing that for a long stretch. So actually like, and yeah, as you said, there's also more action the more short-handed is. So I do like when there's like, 2 or 3 tables, especially if they're both show tables of 3 to 6, there's 3 to 5-handed, 3 to 4-handed, that type of stuff.
Don't most like I heard that about a lot of MTT players that are like now some of the best. They used to play what were those called? The smaller tournaments with like just a couple tables. It could be like 3 tables. It could be like 180 tables. 180 players.
Yeah, sit and goes.
Yeah, I don't know if they were sit and goes or if it was another name, but yeah, that was the format like initially that a lot of those guys were playing. I think Ben CB included and stuff, and I think that's probably what made them super strong in like, I guess, shorter like shadow stacks and shorter stacks and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of like how heads up players will be very sharp, like anything that's like in the later positions and know those ranges like really well in a way.
Yeah. Well, if you're a heads up professional, playing the blind versus blind ranges feels tight, right? Like, well, this is all I have to worry about. This is, significant. It's like you're playing 80% of the range heads up, and you're playing like half the range blind versus blind. So
yeah,
I actually started with sit and goes when when I first started playing online poker years ago, just as like a casual. That I put in $50 and I was playing $9 9-man sit and goes. So terrible bankroll management, but that was how I started.
That's funny. Yeah, somehow that was just the more popular thing that people were playing, or like why was it what was being played the most?
Yeah, it sounds relatively common for people to started out in that, and I maybe it's because for me it was like what I first started playing was like with my friends in their basement, and we just play like a $5 buy-in 7 to 9 person sit and go basically, right? So it's kind of like when you transition to online, you're just like, oh, this is the format I've already played. So
Yeah,
I think that's a big part of it. It's because like, especially when you're first getting into poker, like tournaments are the ones that are on TV. So you're kind of playing like a one table tournament. That's like what you basically think of in that regard. So cash becomes maybe less common or less like of a default for people. What just happened? Oh, he turned a set. Gotcha. Okay.
I think that format kind of phased out as well. Like now you'll still probably find these tournaments, but I'm not even sure they get their own tabs. It's like if you go to tournaments, then maybe that'll be in the list. I mean, I don't really play tournaments, so I'm not sure, but I feel like, yeah, it's not one of those things that would necessarily get his own tab and have any emphasis on.
Yeah.
Like when people think tournaments, they think like, big, massive fields on Sunday and all that.
Yeah, I feel like most of the websites now don't even offer they offer either tournaments or like some sort of like spin and go, right? The like ones that are a mixture of slots and tournament style basically.
I think those are
So
like
there's
super fast format, right? It's just like either
usually, yeah,
three or
it's like,
6-handed and like very few players.
yeah, and as far as I'm aware, like if you're playing those, you're kind of just like a rake back grinder, and a lot of people who play them join some sort of like stable
Yeah.
where like the stable will buy your true EV so that you're not affected as much by the fact that you never hit one of the big spins and stuff like that. So yeah, there's like I again, that's not my expertise and I've never played them myself, but that's what I am that's my understanding of them at least.
And HTP followed up. He said, do you think ABC Poker is better strategy till no limit 25 or maybe higher? I never played above no limit 50.
I would think people think they need to adjust their strategies too much prior to even like 1,000, like 1K an L, 500 an L. Like I think you're basically like no matter what game you play, you're just trying to have a solid baseline strategy and then know when to deviate against people who are making large mistakes and what those large mistakes are and how you would counter that, right? If you get to the river against an opponent who never hero calls, then you want to bluff a lot more than theory would suggest. If you get to the river against an opponent who is loves to hero call, then you want to value bet thinner and for bigger sizes. Like simple adjustments like that
Yeah.
are all you're really going to need, right? If you have a solid understanding of poker and you can make simple deviations like that, then you should be able to make your way up, especially the micro stakes and small stakes games.
Palav's Paradox asked, "Hey Ryan, any general mental game advice?"
Well, it depends what. So I say I'm somewhat fortunate that my mental game has always been reasonable. I think like everyone's going to have their mental game struggles. Poker is not always an easy game. It's often a very tough game. Even the best are going to go through stretches that really suck. So the biggest thing is to try to have as big of a like perspective or like a large perspective look as you can. Try not to ever be too affected by recency bias. How things gone lately does not mean you're better or worse than how you were 2 or 3 months ago. It's a big picture thing, so it's always like a process over results thing. And then the other thing that I have moved away from this, I just maybe it's have less time these days. But when I first started doing all like grinding a lot and playing regular hours, trying to make it like a more of a job, I would meditate before every session, and you'll hear that a lot throughout the industry. But I feel like it's if you're trying to first, if you're someone who feels like there's you have a mental game leak and you just want to be more in touch with the mental game side, I would honestly just try experimenting with like a month of meditation. And I'll tell you myself, when I first started, I said the entire time I did, I was like, this is not for me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm never going to be a meditator. And it never stuck. Like, I don't meditate today, but I did find it very useful for the, like, I probably did it for like 6 months. And I was probably more focused during that 6-month stretch. The benefit then was like, basically all I was focused on was poker. Now, now I have the business side of it as well and other aspects of life. So it's just, I just have less time for that type of stuff. But I would think if you have a personal mental game struggle, that would be my first piece of advice, is to start with some sort of meditation activity and try and keep some sort of consistent pre-game routine. This is something I always tell my students as well. So if you can stick to like, if you're going to experiment with meditation, here's like a perfect pre-game routine would be like, I'm going to meditate for 5 to 10 minutes. That's the other thing. It doesn't have to be that long, and it can be different for everyone. You could listen to music. You could get a guided app like Headspace for 10 minutes. Do that. Again, 5-10 minutes, not that much. Then spend some set amount of time that works for you to study. That can be running a trainer, reviewing hands, actively watching something like this, where you're trying to predict what you think these players are going to do, and then, trying to figure out why they did what they did. Do that without distraction for like 20-30 minutes, and then start your session. And if you do all of those things before every session, it's kind of like warming up for a sport. You'll just like, your performance will be better. You'll be more focused, and your results, like a simple thing like that, will definitely improve your results.
And you work out as well, I assume, right? Because it helps the mind.
I've gone through in and out of my life with like workout, but I think I'm probably on the most consistent stretch I've ever been on since having, like, I have a 4-year-old son now. So part of it was motivating, basically. Like, I want to make sure I'm at least always able to keep up with him as I get older. So I've been pretty consistent for the past like 3 years of at least going like 3 days a week to the gym.
Okay. He's not gonna whoop you too hard on the basketball court eventually then.
Oh, actually, I saw this, like, I try not to like I'm trying to like do a better job of just paying attention to all his milestones and stuff. So one thing we're doing kind of that's just for fun is every year around his birthday, or basically every year he ages, we're gonna have a foot race and see what age he can beat me in a foot race. So we have our bets in on the family and what year we think that'll be. So my goal is to be the fastest member of the household for as long as I can.
But you practice for it, like actually running, or you just like train in general and stay healthy?
Well, at this point, he's only 4, so I don't need too much training. But I think mainly just like being active. Like I haven't played hockey in a while. One of my buddies recently asked me if I wanted to start playing on Sunday nights and stuff again. So maybe I'll add that to the repertoire. I'm playing pickleball, so I'm kind of embracing middle age, I guess you could say. But yeah, so just trying to do stuff like that and stay active.
Sounds good. Somebody wants to join us, so I'll add to the conversation. He's gonna call again in a second.
Okay.
Welcome back.
We just saw, as we started that call, we just saw a really fun one there on the right. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see. The previous hand, was it?
Yeah, the right table.
Yeah.
With Beppe and Derp.
Okay, I have it. Let's see. So this is blind versus blinds, 3x open, call. Beppe continues quarter on ace-10-3 rainbow. Third sandwich calls, jack of clubs. This time he bets 66%. Call again, 4 of spades. He's just jam. I thought there was one digit too much,
No, he jams.
And Beppe is feeling feisty tonight.
Yeah, this one's very feisty, especially since you didn't see the hand, right?
No, I didn't see.
So what are you expecting to see here from Beppe?
He's repping. No, he's repping a straight or like a set, maybe, right?
Yeah, I think in this spot, when you're jamming 5x, most of what you're repping is a straight, and he blocks both of them. I mean, the 5's not that relevant because third sandwich isn't going to get to the river with deuce 5 of spades. So it's more just like, I guess, nice for your opponent's calling range, because when you jam this large, you're basically repping a straight. So typically your opponent wants to hero call with a card in their hand that blocks the straight. So therefore you remove 2 instances of your opponent having a hand that blocks a straight when you have a hand like Queen 5.
So that's like a fine bluff, or like what are some of his other bluffs here that you can think of?
I would think when this hand bets turn, which again, it probably, especially when he's playing this size, ranges are wide, blind versus blind, this is going to be one of your pretty good turn barrels. Basically, I think on a brick river, you're really not going to want the queen and the 5, because now you're blocking like potential straight draws on both sides. But when a straight completes, this one becomes nice, and now you block the king queen straight and the low straight. So I would think it's when you barrel this type of hand on the turn, if you're playing jams on river, this hand would make a reasonable jam.
Is there something where, like, when you make this type of plays like this and what he did earlier, you kind of want to keep doing this up until somebody either plays back at you, or now it's already time? It's like, all right, they've seen this, now it's time to maybe go a little bit safer and wait for value to make big jams.
Well, the beauty of poker in that regard is like, and this is something I like, you often try and tell your students, is like both players saw the showdown, right? So it's like he shoved Queen 5, so his opponent saw that he shoved Queen 5. So now both of you have to make an adjustment, right?
Yeah.
There's the whole like, well, he saw me bluff last time, so when next time he bluffs, is his opponent on the level of, well, I just saw him jam last time with an absurd bluff. Is he really going to go for that again? Or the opposite of that would be like, well, I saw him be crazy the last time. He's clearly he's kind of clearly in an aggressive mood. He's probably over bluffing this node, and I call. And that's why it's important to try to keep your frequencies somewhat balanced and just go off of some sort of randomization or whatever, so that your opponent can't read too deeply into moods or tendencies or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Is that Cooley Poker in the call? What's up?
That's me. Not too much, dude. How's it going?
Pretty good. What about yourself?
Good. Yeah, just got back from the States, so been back a couple days. Already happy to get back into poker.
So
in
the
Washington.
vacation.
Where were you exactly?
I was in Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, just visiting family. Yeah.
Nice.
When are you joining the challenge?
This challenge, well, you're gonna buy half, right? And then
Bro, I'm much poorer than than you think.
I'm still negotiating a rate, you know, with Ryan. He's gonna pay an extra big blind per 100 for some of my action, so we'll get in there soon.
News to me.
Although, hey, well, I don't know, Ryan. Is it knowledge your connection to somebody in this challenge or no? I assume it is.
As in like one of like my
one of the players.
yeah.
Yeah,
They would know the screen name from ACR and stuff.
Yeah. So we do have some Ontario repping in the challenge, which is cool. Is Connor gonna keep playing, or is he?
He's undecided. He's kind of just been jumping in and out a little bit, and just like anyway, like I was saying to Johan earlier, it's like when you jump in this, you're just accepting you're jumping into a variance fest, and it's how much you're still enjoying that aspect of it, right? So
do you think any of like the guys that aren't Davy, Prodigy, Linus are kind of bum hunting? Like they've maybe done some database reviews on some of the players, and there's just some lineups that they're much more. They actually think I'm winning in this lineup and losing in this lineup, and I'm gonna pick and choose really hard. Or do you think?
I mean, I would assume there's definitely guys in the pool where if a table is Linus, Davy, and some say it's Linus, Davy, Prodigy, to use the people you just said, they're just not going to sit into that lineup. Whereas if you remove some of those and replace them with others, it's like anything. I feel like I forget who it was, but I feel like you had someone on the call recently, on who was talking about this, where you could have like three regs who are battling three-handed, and they all think they're winning at 5 big blinds for 100, and it's like, well, obviously that's not the case, but if everyone thinks they have an edge on the other player, they're going to keep playing it. So because it's kind of just universally accepted at the very least that Linus and Davy are two of the best players, and then obviously Prodigy won it last year, so he get a lot of respect as well, then like they just kind of get the green light on their good, but there's holes everyone can poke in each other's games because they don't have that same level of prestige.
So, but you think it's as simple as avoid the really established guys and then just play lineups that make a little bit more sense? There's not a lot of like, I have looked at Derp's game and he is the man I want to play. It's probably less of that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have a pretty massive edge on a player, like, because anyone who's winning, a winning poker player who's playing these games, even if you have some sort of edge on them, it's going to be in like probably relatively small spots where the edge can't be that large to offset the win rates of the other players at the table. So unless it's just like this player is really bad at single raise pots, then it's probably pretty hard to have a massive edge against any of these players.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Prodigy claims that this is how he has made so much money, is that he really, really gets to know a person's soul and takes them into very specific lines and things. So I was just curious how much someone like Connor would be thinking that way, or just sort of hopping in when the game looks okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked much with Connor about his approach to this, but I wouldn't assume that he's like assuming he has a massive edge on the players in these games. It's more just he's in there to battle and like
Yellow it up.
Yeah.
Play some rake free.
Yeah.
As rare as it is.
Hope you run good.
I just read C Llama's comment in the chat there.
Yeah, I think that was after the hand we watched, the first one. When I'm not sure actually.
I got one more question for you. DePaulo is like, he's like is he a professional player? The guy that had 3 deuces spades against Linus?
Oh, are you asking me?
Just both, whoever knows.
I don't think so. I think he's like more of like he might be a professional like MTT player. I don't think so though. I think he's more of just like a personality in the poker community.
Okay, so he's not like a 5-10 live reg or something like that. He's like,
I don't know him that well. I just know that I think like he's a pretty big action guy. I think he like gambles a fair amount like outside of poker and stuff like that. I think that's his whole like persona. So I don't know him that well. I don't really know his whole shtick that well though.
That makes more sense for the hand, because I was just looking at that like, what is going on from both of these guys? Like,
well, I don't know if you saw I guess he posted something about like Coin Poker bought half his action, and they're also going to give him 100% of his profits if he plays in this challenge. Was something to that extent. So yeah, like, and he said like, could I become a winning, at least have a 50% ROI in a cash game, within 5 days of never, like in the first 5 days of playing it or something like that. So
yeah. I think the answer is probably yes. Probably are making money. No, I know he's not an Gen X. Is he an online cash game pro? And I knew that, but I just wasn't sure if he was like crazy. Yeah.
You were not impressed by that hand?
No, I was not. I can't really think of a worse hand to float on the turn than the one that RDU floated.
yeah.
Yeah.
People make plays sometimes. I saw a screenshot today. You guys know Abby Poker?
Nope. Oh wait, is that the like?
Yeah, like
she makes content, right?
Yeah. She's sponsored by I think like MGM or something. I saw a screenshot. She played like, because I saw on Instagram she was posting that she was playing the biggest cash game she's ever played, maybe like 25-50, and then I saw a screenshot somewhere and someone talking about it. Apparently, she tried to hero with I don't know if it was Ace Queen High or Ace King High, and then some guy had a set of jacks. And like that's the biggest game she's ever played, and she tried to be a hero. Like I think sometimes it's you just psych yourself for these games, and then you end up making plays like you wouldn't even do usually. And I think that might be also what happened to DePaulo in that game, the 3 deuce.
Yeah, or he's just spot. Like, I mean, calling the turn is just like, I don't know, it's pretty crazy. Once he gets to the river, he has a very good bluffing candidate. He's got the worst possible hand he's ever going to arrive at the river with. So as long as he's not, the reason Linus is calling eights there is because he thinks his opponent's going to just get to the river with way too many low pairs and bluff them all. Low pairs and low flush draws, I guess.
Well, it was really important that the 7 deuce game was on too, I think.
Oh, I didn't even know the 7 deuce game was on.
Yeah, it was 25 big blinds to the winner of tabling 7 deuce.
Yeah, 5 big blinds per player.
Yeah, I think that really like has had massive impact on the call too.
Well, that makes his turn float even worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You don't want to get yourself into too many spots on the river where you have to bluff a lot if people have incentive or have reason to assume your bluffing range will be even wider than it should be. I
think you guys are too results oriented. If it had worked, he'd be a genius.
Well, the fact that he called him with 8 high means it wasn't going to work very often.
It is tough to think of bluffs, to be fair, and it's like such a weird spot that I probably would end up like over bluffing. Like, yeah, it's just really, when you get to that river, your first instinct is like, how do I have a bluff here? But that's because you're folding those weak flush draws on the turn. But maybe you float something that's an over to the 4, but you need to have boat outs because you need to be able to beat a 4 at the very fucking least. Like when you river a pair, I can't think of a worse hand than 3 deuce. Yeah,
that's because it's the nut low, Coley.
It's got a flush draw. I really think there's almost no difference between having 3 high and having 3 high with a flush draw there.
It would have been funny for him to have river to flush and then put the money in some capacity and then been annoyed.
Linus misclicks with like ace high.
Yeah. Linus bluff jams with a.
The
4.
justice would be at Linus losing to 9s.
Oh, yeah. A 9 high turned into a bluff. Like that's it. That obviously, if he's getting there with deuce 3 of spades, he's obviously not regulated at all on the turn, and so he's going to get to the river probably with like 10-9 of spades and 10-8 of spades and jack 7 of spades and stuff. So he could also just bluff all those, and then Linus loses to jack high or 10 high.
Yeah. There was a hand my friend played. I was at a live table with him, and I didn't watch the action, and I just heard him say, "How am I ever beat here? I call. I have 8 high." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And he was good.
He right?
Yeah, it was probably a pretty similar spot.
Do you guys think it's just a bad idea to try and bluff rich people?
No, not necessarily.
Depends.
I'm sure if you did a study, you would find that on average, rich people fold less. It's funny, like there's always emotional bias that goes into any decision, and for the longest time, like I had a hard time folding because I was terrified of getting bluffed. But now that I've improved at poker, I just look at all the cringy calls I've made in my life, and I'm just like terrified of making a cringy call. So I'm a lot easier to like the feelings have flipped on themselves. Like I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna call here and feel like such a donkey. Like I don't want to have that feeling. So
Yeah, I remember like early on in my career, someone told me like there's people who never get bluffed in poker, and those are not good players.
yeah, yeah.
And so
Well,
definitely you have to allow yourself to get bluffed time and time again.
one sec, guys. I may have to run here, but I'm gonna hang up for a sec.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm still stuck in my calling phase, I feel like.
I mean, that's it's the default most people find themselves in because you're curious, right? You always want to know what the other person has. So
Yeah.
a lot of times you have to click the call button for that. These show tables might be nice for you then. You can fold and still know what they had.
Yeah, for sure. I played them a little bit actually, like No Limit 50 a while back. That was very interesting.
Yeah. Maybe you should hop in some of the mid stakes world championship next time.
I played a couple orbits actually, but yeah, obviously I don't have much roll, and like these guys are all way better than me. But I was like, oh, for fun, I'll play a couple orbits, and I think I won like one hand and lost maybe like 8 or 9. You know, like it was a bit obnoxious. I just
I feel like
didn't connect. I folded correctly like so many times.
it's definitely like a very good format to get better. Like a lot of these guys, obviously this is a very expensive way to get better, the especially the high stakes one. But it's you get a lot more feedback than you would playing against a solver, right? Because people play against a solver and a trainer and say, "Yeah, but like this isn't how humans play." Well, now you're playing against humans, so you have strong evidence that this is how they're playing.
Back.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
So how's the grind been for you, Coley, when you were playing before traveling?
It's been really good. I've been on not like a crazy like biggest games I play heater, but just like a big blind heater, and feeling pretty good about how I'm playing all in all. And yeah.
Are you playing? I don't really see you in the afternoon much anymore. Are you playing more evenings now?
I usually play like when I get up, at like noon or 1 or 2 for a couple hours, and then I play like 11 to 4 or something, 11 to 3
Do you play
in the
like
evening.
similar hours to Ivers then?
Yeah, unfortunately. The the afternoons are kind of mid, feels like. But yeah, I basically just play when my girlfriend's at work, and then I play when she's asleep, to be honest with you.
That makes sense. I mean, I kind of just play when my family's at school and at work, and so I'm in a similar predicament.
But your player pool, if you play in the Ontario pool, it's big enough that you can actually get games, or you just kind of have to spread yourself across like multiple platforms.
Well, yeah, I
Well,
play
it
on
depends
like
on stakes, but we play all the platforms.
Yeah.
like I play middle of the day, so it depends on time. Like when I first get on, there's not many games, but I play on I don't know 7 different websites, so I just have to get 4 to 6 tables of action at 7 different sites is usually relatively attainable.
Yeah. Then of course, it will all change soon, perhaps, with Ontario's legislation.
Yeah, we might be coming back to the real world.
Ontario might join the global markets?
Yeah, there's been some legislation, like some stuff going on, where they might be going back.
Do you guys prefer that or not?
Probably not. I mean, maybe for some of the guys that want to play bigger all the time or something.
It's going to make it tougher for a lot of the mid stakes players, I would say.
But here's my question, because, and I'm sorry this is boring for the chat, but the ruling is we can't play with other Canadians without an agreement between the provinces. But other Canadians play in the global platform. So what happens if some guy from Vancouver sits down at your table and Ontario is collecting tax money from it and there's no interprovincial agreement? Like, that doesn't seem like it's viable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It seems like, yeah.
might be something they've overlooked, and once they get to that point, they'll have to actually figure it out.
Yeah, I think it might indicate that unless it's really easy to get all the provinces on board, which I really doubt it is, then they're kind of handcuffed to just making agreements with places that involve no Canadians, like Spain, Italy, France, other states potentially, like New Jersey.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're going to be able to send people back to Row. They might have to integrate geofenced games.
which could be fine. The hand, again, not a huge pot, but B Lezen and Turd Sandwich just played a pretty interesting one on the which table is this? Flop was Jack 8-4 mono.
Let me see. Left or right table? Oh, Jack 8 for spades.
Yeah.
Found it. Okay. I think the action's kind of breaking, by the way. We're down to 3-handed
like
and 2-handed. So
unless one of them's going to play C Llama heads up, probably going to break.
So this is a 2.5x open from third on the button. Bill in 3 bets, big blind, 13 big blinds call. Behind this, we have 101 big blinds. Peterson continues for 3 big blinds into 26.5. So
usually on these mono boards, people play either high frequency check or very small bets. So
5 of diamonds on the turn. He checks. And now third sandwich bets quarter. Peterson calls. And SPR2 pretty much. He blocks on the King River. Gets a fold through. Just like that.
Yeah, it's just interesting because this is not the typical way you'd expect. Like, if someone bluffed this note against you, you might expect this hand to be in there, but this probably isn't the line you'd expect to see. The, like, bet small, check call turn, donk small river, right?
How often is he bluffing with the best hand on that that action after the fold?
Well, yeah, based on the flop sizing, his opponent doesn't have that many unpaired hands on this run out. It's going to be like 10-9, Queen 10. And then obviously you can have some ace-x that he's turning into a bluff. But it's a very interesting line to just go for the small bluff here, opposed to like, I have the ace of spades, I'm going all in, right? I think that's the default a lot of people would take, is like, I block the nuts, card is good for me, I'm going to use a big bet. But he goes for the like, I block the nuts, but I'm not really trying to get my opponent to fold top of range. I'm trying to get him to fold his mergey middle bets and like prevent him from bluffing me, so I'm going to bet 1/3.
Usually on mono, like the ace of spades starts to function closer sometimes to bricked flush draws because players can float the naked ace of spades and fold it on the river. So although I don't know, a lot of very successful guys don't seem to really think about it that way in practice. And also you can't use the king of spades here. But yeah, usually you prefer a different Broadway flush blocker.
Yeah. It is a 3-bet pot though, so with these cards on board, you're not going to have that. I mean, it is big blind, so he's a bit more polar. But yeah, it's going to be hard for him to have an unpaired non-spade hand on this run out, except for, I guess, like ace-10 with a 10 of spades or ace-queen with the queen of spades. But some of those might prefer betting because they just don't check call turn very well.
Or maybe he's got some low frequent, like, yeah, like the check calling part makes it tough too. Yeah. So I guess in this case, the hand is totally fine, just more as a broad strokes thing. But it is a weird hand.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
Yeah.
There was some chat going on the left. Are they going to play a bit of 3-handed here, or no? They're just flipping for button.
Yeah, I think like the game's fully gonna break. Alexander Taylor asked, "Is Derb Duty?" No, it's a Sci-Fold, I believe is the nickname. And I was gonna say like he bet quarter, by the way, on the river. bluffing
Yeah.
for quarter, like it's kind of wild, right? Because you're gonna get called so much, yet somehow it worked here. So is that actually a thing like that you will see
Well,
often, or?
you can bluff. You can bluff for one big blind if like if your opponent's supposed to defend 100% and they fold 5%, then your bluff's
Yeah,
making
but
money. Right?
usually it's kind of like air on air violence, you know? Like you're 7 high to beat out their queen high or whatever. It's sort of
Yeah.
weird to see the nut nothing donk here because obviously like it's hard to think of a value hand on the turn that'll fold river, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know, like nines with a spade or something is just gonna muck the
Yeah.
river.
The fact that the guy bets small on the turn, he's probably trying to force like a hand that could check back and win like threes with a spade into like sixes, sevens, these type of hands that bet the turn.
Yeah.
Sixes, no spade. These type of hands you're supposed to mix into this betting region to have bluffs on
Right.
river and stuff. So
Yeah, I actually hadn't thought too much about sixes no spade. Yeah.
So now on the river, those hands are not overly appealing bluffs and not overly appealing calls. So if you haven't done a really good job with your range on the turn, then then this bluff may actually be very effective.
With his hand specifically here, because he bets, it's a fine 3-bet, then he bets 10% on the flop. Would you expect him, or like, is it a mix on the turn? Like, what exactly is going on the turn? Why did he choose to check? Do you think he already had the game plan that if there is a check back, he's gonna bluff on like some rivers, or what
Basically,
was
just in
happening?
these spots, if you're playing relatively high frequency flop bet, then on brick turns you just need to check like a pretty balanced range. And so this hand, he wants to make sure he gets the river with some unpaired hands that have the ace of spades in them. So he's also in theory going to check some flushes. Like he's just kind of a mixed bag thing, right? So in this line, he's going to go check call turn, and then on a spade river, he's going to, I'm assuming, play leads relatively often. So this hand will obviously improve on a spade, but he's also going to balance that with other hands. So it's just like you're just trying to make in these wider range spots where you already played relatively high frequency bet, you have to make a lot of the most important decision with your range is often the turn. What are you betting? What are you check calling? What do you check raising? Like those type of things, right? So he's just decided that this hand is going to go into his check call range this time. He could have also sometimes decided to go for a check raise with this hand. He could have also bet this hand. This hand could probably literally do anything except for check fold.
Yeah. And if you never put hands that can improve into a check call line, then on cards where those types of hands would improve, your opponent can get much more aggressive. So if, for example, your only check calls on the turn are like nines with a spade and tens with a spade, then anything that beats that could just jam. Which is really unpleasant when your opponent can put in lots of chips with no fear.
You also the benefit of the spot, which is someone was asking earlier about like when you're playing kind of more wild west games, you're playing micro stakes where people just do whatever they want with their bet sizing. The benefit of this spot too is when it's a reg versus a reg, he knows his opponent's going to use a small size when he checks, which means in the check call line, he's going to play like a relatively high SPR river spot. And the higher the SPR is on the river, the more you need to make sure that your entire range is protected because you're going to play out of position with like more money in the pot, basically, right? So you need to ensure that your range is protected across all runouts on different rivers. So
that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about factoring into SPR directly with capness by anticipating turn bet size. That's a good idea. Thanks, Ryan.
No problem.
HTP asks, is it important to hit preflop mixed frequencies? Did we answer that?
I don't remember seeing that one. I would say you don't have to match like a GTO range, but I think it's good to have same idea we just talked about here, that you want to make sure that you have like different parts of your range and different lines.
Also, what I would think about is when is it the scariest to be exploited, right? It's the scariest to be exploited when your opponent has enough information to make adjustments. Where does your opponent get the most information? Preflop, because preflop happens every hand. So if you don't ever like 3-bet, a weak hand that's 0 EV to 3-bet, then, they can just look at their HUD and say, oh, he doesn't 3-bet, I fold. Because I have him, he had 172 chances to do it, and he's underdoing it, by 25%.
From what stakes does this start being more relevant? Because I can imagine that like maybe not under no limit 100, it's probably not that important to have frequencies. You could just play like solid ranges.
Well,
Which
yeah,
are
but then also you might even you can think about it in the inverse as well. Like you have the opportunity to go really out of your way one way or the other based on a really large sample of pre-flop relative to like post-flop. Like every post-flop spot is somewhat different, but pre-flop happens the same every hand. So first that guy who's got like a really tight open range, you can 3-bet really tight, and first that guy who's opening really wide, you can 3-bet really loose, or like so I'm not saying, oh, you have to always 3-bet the a6 offsuit or whatever. I'm just saying, you should be willing to consider doing that based on your opponent, and then and if there was ever a time to be exploited, that would be the one.
Yeah. All right. Insightful. I feel like HDP has been asking so much about frequencies. Like this guy is really like he's ticking all the boxes. By now he has like a very good idea how to do those.
He's getting some free coaching.
Yeah.
And actually,
I gave away coaching last time for the mid stakes. So.
You actually did that coaching?
Yeah.
How did it go?
It went great. Yeah, he had a great attitude, and I think we covered a lot. And as usual, he was a nit, like every 15L player. So I told him to be spewy like me.
Who do you prefer to coach, a nit or a punter?
Who would I prefer to coach, a nit or a punter? Well, I guess the punters are less common.
Yeah.
So, and I also think it's easier to tell a punter to tone it down than it is to tell a nit to just fire the bluff.
Yeah, interesting actually. HDP actually, I asked earlier, I don't think we covered that, but that's like maybe the most common question during the streams is any tips of how to study properly, balance play and study routine, ? Solver arena looks like a never-ending forest when I study.
Yeah, I mean, biggest thing is not trying to learn. Don't try and memorize frequencies or don't get too bogged down with like percentages. It's more about like, especially early in your development, it's more about understanding like heuristics and broad stroke ideas. So the idea of like, if a situation is going to be some sort of mix between bet and check, what are heuristics I should have? What types of hands? What buckets? I've heard people use that term a lot. What buckets of hands, bet all the time? What buckets of hands check all the time? And then where do my mixes? And how can I, make that easier than what a solver might output? You're not trying to, bet a hand 27% of the time or 38% of the time. Like you're gonna usually want to round it to some easier frequency and like that type of thing to make your job easier.
Do you guys have it? Yeah, go ahead.
Similar to that, like sometimes you'll see the solver have some really bizarre, intense preference between like a 9 high flush draw and a 7 high flush draw. And especially early on, don't worry too much about that. Just like have some flush draws that bluff, as opposed to your goal is to make your opponents be like, I'm not sure whether or not he has it or not in a whole bunch of different spots. That's it. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. If your opponent knows this guy always has it or this guy never has it, you've made his job kind of easy.
Do you guys, by any chance, have a perfect example or like a very good example to illustrate the point you just made? Because you mentioned, the 9 high flush and stuff, but it's still, from somebody who's not super well studied, it still sounds kind of, vague to me. I can't picture like those ranges very well. Like any chance you have another example that might be able to paint a better picture or easier to understand for us?
I would think in spots where you're trying to determine if you're gonna have a mixed bag. You get to a spot where you have a lot of potential bluffs, straight draws, flush draws, whatever it may be. If say like you have a flush draw that you're supposed to mix, bet, and check. General rule will be like high equity, low showdown draws are going to bet them like very often because they have a lot of equity, which is good, and then they get your opponent to fold potentially high equity hands that can't call the turn. So like if you have like a lowish flush draw that has backup equity, like a gut shot or whatever it may be, if you bet that hand on the turn, you get your opponent to fold flush draws that could beat you on the river. And then conversely, if you have very low equity but high showdown flush draws, those ones make reasonable checks because the inverse is true. You can get your opponent to get to the river with a draw that you dominate that would have had to fold the turn.
Yeah.
And then everything in the middle that doesn't fit one of those two categories is kind of just like pick the combos that unblock your opponent's folds is kind of like an easy shortcut. And like you won't, that's not what the solver's doing. It won't be 100%, but you'll be close enough that your turn frequency will be like reasonable, and then you'll get to the river with a reasonable range.
Like here's an example of a really useless question you could ask to waste your life. Okay, so big pot, out of position, pre-flop razor, small blind versus button. I just pulled up an example to show you an example of a useless thing to think about. Queen 8 deuce rainbow flop, goes bet call. Turn is offsuit 4. And then I get players that ask things like, this combo of 10-9 suited bluffs less than this one, why? So if you want to lose 10 minutes of your life that you'll never get back, ask questions like that.
That's my specialty.
It's really, like if you're anyone that's playing lower stakes than these guys, like this is not where you want to focus your energy. You want to focus your energy on what Ryan was just saying, like what is a hand like this, that has some equity, but it's 10 high accomplished by betting? Yeah. How often am I supposed to be able to get away with betting them? And then even after you answer all those questions really well, then you can direct your energy to how are my opponents fucking up. And like very, very, very last is, 10-9 of hearts is worse because it's doesn't block the queen and they have backdoor hearts that float, and like that stuff just like is so unimportant for your win rate.
It was either wasting 10 minutes of my life asking these questions or doom scrolling Instagram. I'm pretty sure that this was still more useful to me. This good outlook. Yeah. But so actually, like a follow-up to this, like to you guys now, it's very intuitive to think about it in the way you do, and like, to be able to find those examples. But to a lesser studied, like a newer player, that's not quite on the level yet. Do you think the best way to figure out all those things and like how to find them is to, I guess, like not just study, but probably like, get coaching or do some sort of like group coaching? Because then that's when you really have somebody explain the stuff the way you just did, and then you kind of start piecing it together. And then I guess when you've done it enough, you can start doing it on your own a little better.
Yeah, I mean that's how I improved. Is I got coaching first, and then you can teach a man to fish, or you can give a man a fish. So you want coaching that does a little bit of both, gives you some instructions right away and teaches you how to improve on your own. But once I had learned enough, then the game made enough sense that I could piece together things on my own that I didn't understand previously.
Yeah.
But it's really hard when you're starting out to know what you're even looking for. And Gen X says Badoogie suit barrel the most. Yeah, it does. But do you want to know the percentage difference in frequency? It's like 4% between the 10-9 of diamonds and 10-9 of spades. So like the Badoogie 10-9. So like then you're gonna end up checking 10-9 of diamonds because of some Badoogie rule, and you'd be like completely cooked because the hands should just bet 88% of the time, or like 100.
Well, that, so you're gonna play the hand perfectly. Sounds good to me.
Bet. And like what's even more important is like, will the guy fold?
Yeah. And I would agree, same thing. Like obviously I'm biased to suggest coaching, but I've always said like, especially the benefit, like the thing that you're never going to get out of a solver or whatever is just years of experience. Like if you hire a good coach, they should have tons of experience playing this game, and they'll be able to help you sift through all the useless noise where you just waste. It's like anything. Like if you want to get the most out of, if you've never worked out in your life and you want to work out for the first time, it would make sense to have someone consult you, whether that be, a personal trainer or, YouTube video or whatever. Like someone needs to kind of show you the way at the start. And then as you get better and stronger and whatever, you can figure out some stuff on your own. But like you'll save yourself a lot of growing pains if you just hire a good coach from the start.
Yeah.
Do you guys have insights on coaches? Like maybe the guy who was asking you a lot of questions was, I need to find a nickname again. HDP. What do you play HDP? Like let's say he plays like No Limit 25 or No Limit 50. I think, okay, he's in the chat. He's going to tell us. And then I'm curious,
let's see.
Depending on what he plays, what range of coach should he try and get in terms of like pricing and what they're playing?
I mean, at any point that
He
you
plays tournament
feel like
50.
you're not improving on your own, you should consider getting a good coach.
Yeah.
Like if you're struggling to improve on your own, then that's a really good time to get a good coach, and that could be at any stake.
Yeah.
What's a
But
good price range for somebody that plays No Limit 50 to spend on coaching?
It's been a while since I've like a lot of the coaching I'm familiar with nowadays is some sort of like there's a lot of CFPs or programs like nowadays, right? Like I feel like at the end of the day, you're always going to get the best coaching out of something like that because incentives are the most aligned. If you pay someone an hourly rate, I'm not trying to discredit people who do hourly rates, but incentives aren't directly aligned because it's like
Yeah.
I'm paying you X amount of money to make me better, but at the end of this hour, 2 hour relationship, there's no incentive. Like we don't have an ongoing relationship. You're not genuinely incentivized to make me better. Whereas if you join some sort of program that's tied to your success, now you have a direct, one-to-one feedback where it's like, if you make me better, I make you more money. So
yeah,
like,
I mean, I feel like people make a bit too much of a meal out of that just because like a lot of the people that coach, they really enjoy coaching. And if you think about like when you were in school, right? Like none of your teachers like got paid based on your future salary or whatever. But you definitely had some teachers that, went out of their way because they enjoyed what they were doing and they were good at it.
But they are rare, right?
Well, yeah, they are, but it's a little bit more selected for with the people that have been established for a while and so on and so forth. So, like it depends. I mean, I've only had very good or very good experiences hiring coaches for an hourly, but that being said, I did my research and I picked them carefully. So,
yeah, I mean, it's like anything. Like there's going to be also the relationship I just discussed. There's going to be bad ones like that where people don't get as much as they should from some sort of like coaching for profit arrangement. But
yeah,
I'm saying that also because early in my career, I had the opposite relationship, which is part of the reason I decided to do the CFP model eventually. I used to do hourly coaching prior to that, but when I first got into poker, this was a while ago, and I paid someone for coaching. Don't remember his screen name, not a big deal. But anyways, he was playing 400 now. I was playing like 100 now. I just assumed this guy must be really good. He was like part of some training site. He coached me for a period of time, and like throughout the entire relationship we had, maybe it was 3 to 5 sessions, like half the time was me like basically saying like this doesn't seem correct and like kind of almost correcting him, and just like it just didn't feel like I was being guided anywhere. It felt like I knew similar to what he knew. It almost felt like I was helping him in some aspects. So that relationship kind of was just again, that's a one-off. You can have ones that go the other way. So I would say, yeah, if you are going to pay someone hourly, you should just do your research and just make sure that that person has receipts and that maybe don't dive into like a big commitment right from the get-go. Make sure you get some taste of what they are offering before you just pay for everything.
yeah. Ask to talk to some of their former students. That can be helpful. If you want to really, I don't know, is it weird to plug somebody? I did used to coach this guy, but it's not like I get a cut or anything. If you want a really, really cheap coach, and again, this guy is not going to be super theory or anything, but like if you're struggling at 50 and L and you just need someone to explain like, oh, this guy has no bluffs here, you should probably fold. Like this guy's dirt cheap and he's a nice guy and like he's a good teacher. So I don't know. If you want a dirt cheap coach, that guy's probably not a bad pick.
You'll probably have to message him. Your link got deleted.
Oh shit.
I'll put it. I'll put it.
He's 2+2. His name's Immortal Cedric. And then, you get what you pay for. Like I'm 170 an hour and I play much bigger than that guy does, and I know a lot more about theory. And then, in the long term, I think it's fair to say something like Ryan's program is you're gonna get way more out of that than you're gonna get out of 5 or 10 hours with me, but if you become a pro, you'll pay a lot more in the long run. So you get what you pay for in life.
Do you know like what does he do when he coaches? He does a database review?
Immortal Cedric, I have never been like coached by him. I've only ever worked with him as a player. He used to be a pro before solvers, so like he kind of understands, like he has good instincts. So like if you want someone who's cheap that can kind of explain how they just think through like why this guy feels strong here and something like that, you know, he might
Yeah.
not be a bad choice. But again, like you get what you pay for, right?
Oh, he wrote at the end, yeah. He said he wrote we can do the following: hand history session reviews, hand history deep dive, or video review.
Yeah, and please nobody say to me you guaranteed I'd have a great experience with this guy and didn't I want my money back, because
Coley will pay you guys back if you're not satisfied with the coaching.
But like I don't know, I feel like if you want someone who's really cheap, he's probably the pretty good choice for really cheap. Then there's also go on 2+2. 2+2 is a lot of good stuff. Yeah,
that makes sense. All right, been fun.
Right,
thank you guys.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are welcome back anytime you want, and then let's do some shout outs.
Yeah.
Coley,
Shout
go
out
ahead.
to I don't know. I have nothing. Ryan, what do you want to shout out?
Shout out to any of my students that are listening. Especially if you stuck around for the post, you know, there's no longer any high stakes players playing tables. It's just us babbling. So yeah, shout out to anyone who stuck around for that.
Shout out to meditation. Yeah.
Actually, wait, one last thing, because like you talked about meditation earlier, and I was going to ask you, and then Coley joined, so I forgot. But so like, what do you mean meditation? Like, what was the process exactly?
I was very like, if I don't know if Coley's like much deeper into that. I just like literally used the app Headspace for like 3 months and like found some benefits of that. But that was like as far as I went in that deep dive.
Basically, the goal of meditation is to practice the choice of staying present. So a lot of mindfulness meditation involves things like focus on your breathing or listen to what the voice is telling you, which is like focus on your breathing or feel your body. What this stuff does is it takes you out of the anxious thought you're having or the emotion that is taking over and lets you focus back in on the moment, which is like, okay, I'm on the river. I had a flush on the turn. Now my hand's not worth as much. What do I want to do? Instead of saying life's not fair and clicking call. Right. So
yeah, it's not for everyone, right? Because even just hearing you talk about it kind of tilts me, to be honest. Like I tried Brand FM, by the way, recently. I told Waco earlier, and I've never wanted to smash a TV that much, by the way, listening to like ambient sounds, and I went on the downswing too.
If you look at the data on people who meditate, like it is a protective factor for emotional regulation and things like that. It is quite good, but you can always just try like to use some of your time bank to like focus on the act of being present. Like instead of just worrying the entire time, oh, like, is this guy bluffing me? Just like ask, like, how am I feeling right now? Like, do I feel overwhelmed? Do I feel
tilted,
upset? And then make you have like a minute, like take 15 seconds. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Much love, both of you. And yeah, we're welcome back anytime. Riske, shout outs?
No, that was it. Yeah, just any of my students are sticking around listening to all this. And my wife's calling me now, so that's good timing. So shout out to my wife and my son. There we go.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night. Later.
See ya.
All right, guys. Where'd tables go? Well, where do you think they went? Into Narnia or what? Of course, they broke. You know, it's stuff happens. It's kind of weird, actually. There was like 3 tables that were like short-handed. I think they were like 3 or 4-handed, and then suddenly they filled up, and then a couple of people left, and you know that's all she wrote. There's literally nothing running now. So, yeah, interesting day. 3 streams, not one super long stream, but 3 streams today. I think 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 hour. So pretty good. We're back tomorrow. Actually, I was supposed to commentate tomorrow with Coley. I don't know if, because he made an appearance now, he might want or not want to come back on. I will check with him. But yeah, we're back tomorrow in any case. And until then, I wish you all a good night. Make sure to follow Poker with Riske on X and I think Instagram as well. And Coin Poker and Poker Strategy on all their socials. PokerStrategy.com on Twitch and YouTube both. We're back tomorrow. Much love, everyone. Have a good night. Take care. Peace.